Welcome into the banter. Dang it! Hold up. Welcome into the banter. Welcome into the banter. I had it all set up because I was gonna be like, oh wait, shoot, who had the remote?
The past 4 minutes, you've been sitting with your arms so weirdly.
Well, because I crossed my arms and I tested how subtly I could do it, and it worked. And then when it got showtime, it freaking didn't work.
I was so confused why you were sitting like that.
I had a whole bit. I was about to be like, who has the remote that worked first time? Wow.
Well, as you guys can see, or those of you that can't, the cast this week is me, Connor, Hunter, and Jason.
There's 4 of us?
Me, Connor, Hunter, and Jason. Same cast as last week.
Yeah.
Brody's not here. So
Brody's not
True.
here.
The better cast from last week.
Yeah.
Is here, so. Though we do know why Brody left. As you can tell, we have our hoodies on. The cold air has finally hit Virginia, so that's the secret reason why Brody left a little early.
Anthony Bedanza is in town. If you don't know who he is, he's a disc golf YouTuber, but he's from Colorado. And I told him, I was like, I think, because they apparently, he told me they just had their first snowstorm. Yep. So his wife's snowed in back home, and he was kind of homesick. And he was telling me, and I was like, I think you brought the cold air with you because they just went from 80 down to 50 overnight. Which I'm here for it.
Oh, it's
awesome. November. It's time to be cold.
It's time to get that fireplace going every night.
Yeah. So. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, I love winter. We watched The Grinch last night. We took Luca trick-or-treating for the first time. He dressed up as Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, I saw the photos. Fantastic.
And then awesome. His little cousin, Finley, dressed up as Tigger.
Yep.
And so we went trick-or-treating. It was great. He was too young. We obviously, we aren't going to give him candy. I let him eat at Reese's, but if anyone tried to give him candy, that meant I got candy, which was great.
Oh, yeah.
So any of the people that left out a bowl, I just walked up with my Winnie the Pooh, and I grabbed whatever my favorite candy was because I was freaking eating it. But we took, because we now have I have 5 nieces and a nephew. So I have 4 nieces and a nephew makes 5. So my parents have 6 grandkids. So all of us, and then one of my sister's sister-in-law, her 8-year-old daughter came too, and so we had 7 kids all trick-or-treating, and it was weird being the parent in that scenario because the kids were having the time of their life, and I was the one that was walking up to the door with them, be like, it's okay, you can ring the doorbell, go ahead. It was very weird because I'm not that far removed from trick-or-treating, and all of a sudden I'm the parent in the scenario.
That
it was a weird one.
I only had one group of trick-or-treaters come to my house. I was pretty sad. Well, I was stoked whenever that group came.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, guys, take whatever you want. And then no one else came.
It might have been 2, because we've been in our house 5 years now. I think the first year we moved in, we didn't do anything for trick-or-treating because my wife's birthday's the 31st, so Halloween. So typically, she's a twin. So typically, we try to get together with her family, and they do something for both of them. Mm-hmm. And so the first year or two, we went over to, because the tradition was they'd always throw a birthday party at Lizzie's dad's house. Their neighborhood's a really big trick-or-treating neighborhood. So when we were teenagers and dating, we'd go over, and it was right at that edge of we still went trick-or-treating because she had a younger sister who's 6 years younger than her. So when we first started dating, Katie was 9 or something. Is that right? That's right. Yeah, because she just turned 21. Holy cow, I'm old. When we first started dating, she was 9, so we would take her trick-or-treating. And then over years, it turned into we'll hang out at the house and we'll give out candy. And so that was always a tradition. But year 3 of living in our house, maybe our second or third Halloween in the house, they came over to our house. And we were like, this will be so fun. We can now hand out candy. And so we turned lights on and then realized our neighborhood is not a trick-or-treating neighborhood. Yeah. And so, which was weird because
your driveway is also really long.
It is.
So
yeah. But they what was weird was the past few years have went over to her dad's house, or because as everyone's gotten older, it's hard for her, and then her sister's married, also has a kid now, her twin, and so we don't really see them on Halloween anymore. We try to I think we're gonna go over next week for dessert to celebrate their birthday. So the tradition of a Halloween party for their birthday kind of faded as the years have went on. And so what Liz and I would typically still go over to her dad's house or something like that, and so we just never turned the light on to trick or treat. But then this year, since we were taking Luca trick or treating, we were like, oh, well, we'll go to the neighborhood we typically went to. We would either go, when I was a kid, the neighborhood, my best friend, his name was Chip, lived across the street diagonally from where I grew up, which now is the neighborhood across from where I live because I moved 3 doors up. And so we would either go there or we would go to my uncle's neighborhood or my grandparents' neighborhood. So last night we were like, well, let's go park. Chip's parents still live in the neighborhood. We'll park in their front yard and then we'll walk that neighborhood. And so that was also kind of cool because it was like we were going to all the same houses, and I remembered which houses had the good candy, and like they're the same old people that live there. They just have gotten older, and so they're still giving out great candy. So that was fun. But then when I got the car, picked Luke up because we left early because Luke was ready to go to bed. So we left at like 7:30, and I drove back into our neighborhood. And when I pulled into our neighborhood, full of trick or treaters.
Oh my goodness.
And like all of my neighbors' lights were on, and I was like.
What
3 years ago, no one had. I think COVID killed trick or treating.
Yeah.
Right. And I think when it came back, all my neighborhood decided we're gonna hand out candy.
Right.
Because before, when we turned our light on, we were like the only ones in the entire neighborhood that had our light on, and that was the whole problem. Was like you'd have to go up our street and then get to us because we're at the end of a cul-de-sac, and like if the first few houses don't have their light on, no one's walking up that street.
Right.
Yeah.
And but now everyone had their light on, and I was like, Liz, we could have just stayed home. We could, but. We're not in a stay-at-home phase because from here on out, Luke is going to want candy. So, but now we know we can just walk out our front door and trick-or-treat our neighborhood, which is nice.
That's good for sure. We lived it mostly with my kids with their trick-or-treating age. I was in the Air Force for all those years, so we lived on military bases for a while. So it was always good because there were kids everywhere, and it was good and it was safe. And as they get older, we could let them go. But the best part of being on a base is that most military bases, the generals all live together, and it's called Generals Row. And they give out full-size candy bars.
That's
like
awesome.
often a lot of the bases, all the generals just have like a big cookout, and they're all hanging out there, and there's just one long line, and you get there's a full Snickers, and there's a full 3
That's awesome.
That's so awesome.
And so we the same way, we never gave out candy because we were already walking with our candy, but we still left a bowl out there that says please don't take too much. Or something like that. So it was fun for sure being able to go do that.
We got to a house last night, and my niece Lila is 5, and so she's at that stage where she was my best friend for the first like 3.5, 4 years of her life. And now she's at the stage where when I show up, she's like shy because she doesn't want to play with her uncle. But by like an hour in, then she wants to play like she's a little kid again. Because she's 5 years old. She is a little kid.
Yeah.
But she's already getting to that like, is it cool to play? Like, it's weird. Yeah. Anyways, but trick-or-treating, she was just a little kid. Like it's just, she was just having a blast. She's walking up like playing with Luca and all this, and so she was just like by my side all night, just having a blast. And we walked up to this one house that had a big bowl of candy, and there was no sign. I said, Lila, you know what no sign means? She's like, what? I said, you can take as much candy as you want. She goes, really? I was like, no. I was like, but I'm gonna turn my back. You do what you want. I don't know. And I walked away. And she came back. She's like, I took 4 pieces of candy. I was like, Lila. And she was like, well, I took 3 for Pops. And I was like, Pops doesn't eat candy. She goes, I guess I'll eat them.
Very smart, Lila.
That is really funny.
It was very funny to like hear them articulate why they were taking more than 1 piece, because it was always like, well, I'm going to see if Mommy wants one on the road. And then we'd get back to the road and she wouldn't ask my sister if she wanted one. And it was very funny. And then my other little niece, Avery, she's a sweetheart, but she like very outgoing, bubbly personality. And so... But other kids obviously are a lot more shy, and she doesn't understand that like most kids are not super outgoing. And so she multiple times, like there was this one little girl who's like probably 2 or 3, and their parents were like walking, holding her hand, and she had a light up tutu on. And Avery's also 5, and she walked down the driveway. She goes, oh, your skirt is so pretty. I love it. And the little girl burst into tears. And so then Avery like got all sad, and she looked at the mom and goes, I'm sorry. I just wanted to tell her her skirt was pretty. And the mom was like, you did nothing wrong. That was very sweet of you. She's just shy. I'm so sorry. And Avery like looked over at me. I was like, Avery, you did a great job. Good job. And then so Lila was always like nervous to ring the doorbell. And so I would like tell her, like, Lila, this is what you're supposed to do. People want you to ring their doorbell tonight. That's what it's like. The light's on. We're supposed to be here. Ring the doorbell. And so they would ring the doorbell, and Lila would always just like, she wouldn't even really say thank you. She's just so nervous. Bella, who's Lila's cousin, that's my sister-in-law's daughter, she's like 8. And so she would like say thank you, but she didn't really say trick or treat or anything. And then Avery would walk up and be like, she literally like multiple times was like, trick or treat, don't mind me, give me something good to eat, and then shove her bucket up. And the old people were eating it up. Yeah. They loved it. It was hilarious to watch.
That's awesome.
It was very fun.
That's like the sweetest thing I've ever heard.
I know. I felt so bad for
her.
When that little girl cried, it just like broke her. She was just like,
gonna have lasting effects.
She was like, what? I just told her skirt was pretty. Why was she upset? It was very funny. Kids are so innocent.
I actually have a really good tip for. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if the audience can, but I can.
Check 1 2.
Now I can hear you even louder.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I had almost nothing before. Okay. Last night I gained some knowledge for you guys on your runs. Okay.
Okay.
I have great advice for you. You guys know about juicy drop pops?
Yeah.
I have no idea what a juicy drop pod
They're basically
is.
a lollipop that you pull out from this container, and the container you pull it out has drops that you can put on.
Yeah.
And they're
okay.
most of the time they're like sour.
They're sour.
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
the liquid is sour. The like pop is just like a sucker.
Yeah, regular sucker.
Well, we had an 80s prom themed murder mystery last night. And so Gabby, part of the planning for it was she got all these different candies that were like around in the 80s. And so like she said she researched it, but it was like Fun Dip and baby bottle pop.
That would make sense.
And then juicy drop pops and like those really like the Tootsies that aren't Tootsie Rolls, but like the colored ones.
They should get the little wax bottles. I don't know if those are around in the 80s. That just feels like an old candy.
No,
that feels like an old candy.
It does feel like an old candy. And so got all those. And so last night I was eating a juicy drop pop. And of course we were having a juicy drop pop off.
Oh, heck yeah.
And so I just sucked down the whole thing and just it was the most incredible feeling I've ever felt. Like I've never been so wired in my life. As soon as it hit me, I was like, I could run so fast right now. I don't think I could run very far, but I could run really fast.
Yeah,
So you
I feel
guys
like
ever-
that would make your
you ever
stomach
th-
cramp.
You ever
a little
thought
bit.
about doing a juicy drop pop on your own?
I haven't. I have not.
So what you're saying, if we need the speed or
running
away from like someone trying to attack
Or you're
us,
like
just pop
you're like
a
100 feet
juicy
from the
drop
finish
pod.
line, and you're like, I can't get there. Just pop a juicy drop pop, and you'll.
Or if you're
sprint.
like you're 2 miles away and you know the next bathroom's at the finish line,
yeah,
maybe that's a way to get
Yeah,
there faster.
yeah.
You'll have something you're like, I gotta keep this. I gotta get to the finish line. I can't do it anymore. Just sprint it out. That might be more the thought process. I follow this like not to get into running because I know every time.
No,
Jason and I are on,
I will happily
That's
talk
okay.
about
I'm purposely getting you guys into it. That's totally fine.
I follow this account that's like a running. It's literally called like the running dietitian or something. And I don't know how much she knows because what she posts a lot of times is like feels controversial compared to what other people that I like trust
Okay.
say. But one of the things she posted for like Halloween was, here are the best candies to eat during a run.
That's funny.
Interesting.
And it was basically all it was showing was like Sour Patch Kids have like this many carbs and this has this many carbs. I just found it interesting because I don't think I could see myself like trying it during a just like a weekend long run because I would love to eat a Sour Patch Kids mid run. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
But it also sounds like it would make my stomach hurt.
Sounds a little clickbaity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It sounds like the purpose of that video was for you to be like, candies do while running, what? And then watch it.
Yeah.
but they like they're used. I don't even know if they're a thing anymore. But Jelly Bean came out with like
The energy chew stuff, right?
Yeah, they were jelly beans, but they were energy jelly beans.
I used to eat them before
Wow.
basketball games.
And they were actually not too bad. Like if I had them too much on a long run, that's sugar because there's still so much sugar in there.
Yeah.
It was just not good for my stomach. But a few here or a few there were not too bad.
What are you focusing on whenever you're choosing like a running snack or a running gel or whatever? What's the main thing that you're paying attention to?
For me, it's something that won't give me indigestion. Right?
Yeah.
That's a very vague thing there. So like a pre-run thing is some bread and peanut butter or bread and honey, just to have something solid in me because peanut butter doesn't go so fast or you don't process it as fast. And for during it is something I don't want. For my shorter runs, I don't want something super flavorful, but then once I start hitting the 15 to 20 miles, I want something flavorful just to spice it up a little bit towards the end.
I just made a mistake recently. I don't know if I told the story on the Banter.
No, you didn't. You definitely should.
So I'm very.
Have you told Jason this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very new to the world of running nutrition still, and so I didn't even realize if you don't know anything about running nutrition, there's this thing called gels. And basically what a gel is, it's just like a shot of carbs. Sometimes they'll have caffeine in it. Sometimes they'll have like sugar. Electrolytes, like different things you need to fuel your run. But it's basically just a little packet, and it's just a gel in there. And there's different brands have different consistencies, and everyone has an opinion on which one's best and which one sucks. And so what I did is I just found one that was on sale and was a popular brand, and it's called Goo. I didn't realize Goo is apparently one of the most like controversial, and like now that I've researched more, high end runners all say Goose sucks. But I was using the first one I ever used was the Gatorade one because I trusted Gatorade. I knew that brand. And then I started following running accounts, and none of them talked about the Gatorade ones. So I was influenced, and I was like, well, frick the Gatorade ones. These must suck. I think they're probably okay because they didn't do me dirty. And so normally my pre-run routine is there's this drink mix called G1M Sport. And what that has is, I think it's 20 grams of carbohydrates and 350 milligrams of sodium or something like that. So it gives you electrolytes and carbs pre-run. And they're fast-acting carbs, so you're able to digest them fast. They actually get to your muscles quick.
Okay.
So you drink it within the first 30 minutes before your run, somewhere in that window, or you can sip on it during your run. So on a long run, I do 2 scoops of it. So I have 40 milligrams of 40 grams of carbs and 700 milligrams of sodium pre-run. And on top of that, I normally eat, it's called a honey stinger waffle, and basically honey is a really good source of carbs. And so it's basically a waffle that has some type of honey paste in the middle. And they make different flavored ones. My favorite, salted caramel. But they make different flavored ones. And so normally I eat that, and that's an additional 20 grams of carbs. So right pre-run, 30 minutes before, I eat that. And then while I'm stretching for those 30, 20 minutes before my run, I'm drinking the G1M Sport. So pre-run, I have 60 grams of carbs in my body, and I just got electrolytes. And then throughout my run, I sip on electrolytes, and then I have a gel every 4.5 miles, depending on how fast I'm running. Because every 45 minutes, you need another gel, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's my normal routine. I've done it for probably 6 months now. Never had a single stomach problem, never had anything. And I was using the Goo brand gels throughout all of that. No problem. I switched over to BPN's Go gels a few weeks ago. No problem, that transition. They were working great. They taste great. They're all natural. It was awesome. Well, I get up this morning for a 12-mile run, and I walk out to my cabinet, get all my stuff prepped, making my G1M Sport, and I go to grab my waffle, and I realize I ran out of waffles. So I don't have a waffle to eat. I'm like, well, shoot. I don't even think we had bread in the house because I was thinking some people I've seen have drizzled honey on a banana, but I was like, I haven't tried any of that. Yeah. I don't want to mess my stomach up before this run. So I'm going to stick to what I know doesn't mess my stomach up. So I was like, I'll just use a Goo gel, 20 grams of carbs. Actually, it's 21 grams of carbs in that. It doesn't have any sodium in it, but the only reason I eat the honey stinger waffles for the carbs. Mm-hmm. So in my head, it's a straight trade because they basically have the same amount of calories, same amount of carbs. So in my head, straight trade.
Putting the same thing in your body, basically.
Exactly. So I'm not even thinking something could go wrong. So I just shoot the gel. I pick my favorite flavor, birthday cake. Literally tastes like icing. Suck that thing down, drink my G1M Sport, get out the door. I'm ready to run. 2 miles in, I start getting a little bubble guts. And I'm like, huh. So I haven't had any other gels or anything yet. So only thing in my body is the Goo gel. I'm like, huh, I've never really felt this before on a run, but I'm sure it'll go away. It's probably my stomach probably just needs to settle.
Yeah.
So I kept running. I get to mile 4. It's gotten progressively worse, but in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm about to have another gel. That'll settle my stomach because now I'm gonna put more on my stomach. That'll settle it. So I'll do that, and I'll drink a little bit more water than I normally would. So I have more on my stomach. Hopefully it settles it. Suck down my next gel, drink some water. Doesn't really work.
It's a lot of liquidy stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't really work. So then I just keep running, and it just slowly gets to almost it turns into nausea, where I'm just man, I don't feel like I'm gonna throw up. It's not like I'm running so hard I'm gonna puke because I'm running in my aerobic zone, so I'm running easy, really easy. I don't feel like I'm gonna puke. I just my stomach just really does not feel right. Something's going wrong. But I was well, at this point I'm 4 miles away from home. I'm not going to turn around and just only run 8 miles.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going. So, but my first turnaround point is at 5.5 miles. So I turn around there. And then what I normally do is I'll run down and then I do 5 miles or half a mile on this trail that sticks off of Windhurst. Because I can run from my house to Windhurst 5 miles. So I run there and then I'm coming back. I do this Thomas Jefferson trail, however many more miles I need to add on this little out jut. And so I started on that. And it's pitch black out, so I'm running with a headlamp, and I'm running on there, and it's no one's out there, and I'm just my thoughts turn to, do I go poop in these woods? Because my stomach is getting to that point now. Because now I'm at mile 7, and I'm looking at the woods, and I'm I'm not even supposed to be on this trail. The trail doesn't open till dawn, Like, what if there's a security team and they pull up and they're shining a flashlight and I'm pooping in the woods? Like, that's where my head's. So I'm like, I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, you know what? Maybe there's a porta potty in Windhurst. I'll run back out and just see if I can find a porta potty. Because, like, my mind is now, I'm not in an emergency situation, but I got to poop.
Yeah.
That's become very clear. I have to poop. And running while you had to poop. And the other problem was what I normally could have done is just stop running, walk for as long as I need to get my stomach settled, and then just slowly start running again. That probably would have helped. But we had my sister-in-law's baby dedication at their church at 9. I went for my run at 5:30, 5:40. 12 miles is going to take me about 2 hours. So that put me home at like 7:30, 7:40. Plenty of time to shower, but I need to be ready by 8 so that Liz can have time to get ready so that we can leave at 8:30.
Okay.
So I'm working with like 20 minutes.
All right.
So I'm like, if I start walking, I'm 5.5 miles from home. If I start walking now, like, I only have 20 minutes to play with. I can't walk for too long, or else I'm going to have to be, like, really running, and who knows what that's going to do to my body. So, again, at this point, I haven't really learned my lesson. I'm like, well, I'm almost to mile 8. Mile 8, I'm going to take another gel. That'll settle my stomach. So I get to mile 8, and I'm, like, going up this hill, and I take my next gel, and I'm, like, the whole time thinking, like, please work, please. And, like, this is the point where I'm clenching muscles down there to keep me from pooping while I'm running. Like, I'm at that point where I'm just like, this is getting to an emergency situation level. And so I come, and now I'm at like 8.5 miles passes, and I'm like, my stomach's starting to cramp. Like, it's not. And so there's kind of a split where to get home and go 12 miles, I need to go left and run through these back neighborhoods and sneak through. Or I can go straight and it'll cut off like a mile and a half to where I'll get home at like 10 miles, basically. So I make that decision. Okay, this 12-mile run's not happening. We're now like almost at 9 miles in. We're going straight home. So that'll save me some time. I can walk a little bit more. So now I'm walking, and I'm looking at my watch, and I don't know what happened. I must have left the house later than I thought, because I look at my watch and I realize it's 7:40 now, and I'm 2 miles from home. So that puts me getting home at 8, which is when I need to be ready by. And that's assuming I run at 10-minute pace. If I'm run walking, I'm not at 10-minute pace. So I'm like doing all this math in my head, and on top of that, my stomach's cramping. On top of all of that. And I'm like, I don't know what to do here. So now I'm like I was like, you know what, just book it home, Hunter. You can hold it. You're a grown man. You're not going to poop your pants. Let's just run. So I just start running. And I get to like 9.4 miles, and it got to a full emergency situation where I was like, I'm not an extroverted person. The thought process going on in my head is, do I knock on someone's door and be like, look, I don't know what to tell you. I've got to use your bathroom. That's the point I was at. And so instead I was like, Hunter, what are you doing? You have enough fitness. You don't have to run 12 miles today. You're 9 miles in. Call your wife. And so I just picked up the phone. I was like, Liz. And she's like, what, are you hurt? I'm like, kind of. You got to come pick me up. She's like, why? I was like, I don't know how to say it. People were walking by me, but I had to tell Liz. So I was like, I don't know how to say it. I'm about to poop my pants. Like, I'm picking a house to go poop in their front yard. That's the point I'm at right now. You got to come pick me up. And so she just busts up laughing. And luckily I was like 2 miles from home. So she loaded Luke up in the car, and she was there in like 5 minutes, and I made it home.
Wow.
And I was fine.
That is very impressive.
All that to say, I'm not the right person to talk about running nutrition. That was a very recent experience. I haven't done a long run since then, because then the next weekend was Battle for Bedford, and I didn't have time to get my long run in, so I just ran 6 miles on the weekend. So this weekend I have to run 14 miles, and this will be the first long run
what's
since
the
that.
lesson you learned? What's the lesson you learned?
I got to have a solid before I run.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not poop. I got to eat a solid before I run. Yeah.
Got to drop a solid before I run.
Most people poop before they run. I've just never really, that's just never been a problem for me.
You're a pre-run pooper.
I'm not, no. But I think I do have to eat something to settle my stomach before I run. That's the lesson I learned.
Jason, do you have any lessons like that you've learned?
No, but I have experiences to talk about. So you know, Hunter's doing the Disney World Marathon, as am I. We'll be in very different paces. So he'll be back at the parks hours before I even finish the run. But that's okay, because I've done it a few times. But what I will say, and I don't know if you've done any big races yet where where people basically just go do their business on the side of the road before the race starts.
I have not.
Have you seen
Oh
that?
my
So that you
gosh.
will see at Disney World, because Disney World has like 25,000 racers going out in multiple waves. And so, like, they have porta potties at the very beginning, but then you get into your corrals, and once you're in corrals, there's no bathrooms anywhere. And for those in the later corrals, it may be an hour from the time the first racer starts to when that you start going. So you'll see people as soon as it starts go off and go hit the woods right away, peeing and doing
No
other stuff.
way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's funny.
In Europe is much more common. So I'll have 2 stories about Europe. One was I went and did a half marathon in Belgium. At the very start of it, it was by this really famous arch, beautiful. But then at the very start, people because they were in the crowds, the guys were just over in the bushes peeing. Like in Europe is very different, right? Let's remember in Europe is very different, so people have no problem just doing their business. And I remember Liz was going like, "Oh my gosh," I should have turned the kids' heads because guys were like with no shame at all, doing their business in front of everybody. And the craziest story I have, I did the Paris Marathon, and I was in one of the later crowds, and I like being at the back of the crowd because I'm a slow runner anyway. And we were in that crowd for 30 minutes, and a female literally just pulled her shorts down in the middle of the crowd, squatted down, and peed right in. We're like on the road to the Champs-Elysees. I mean, we're on the Champs-Elysees, the Arc de Triomphe's right there, and she literally just pulled her shorts down and squatted and peed right there. And I was like, it was the wildest thing I have ever.
That is crazy.
seen.
All right, mental note: don't run in Europe.
Don't run. I saw a lot of that kind of stuff in Europe.
I will say,
it was wild.
This is apparently where this conversation is going. When I went to China when I was in like 8th grade, we were in Xi'an, and we were in a little bit of a rougher part of Xi'an, and you would see grown men, just drop their pants and poop on the street.
Yeah.
Like they would just be walking, and there were like trees on the sidewalk, just like in like Windhurst or downtown, where just trees on the sidewalk, and they just walk up to it. Not big trees, like little trees, but obviously there's a mulch bed there, and you just squat and poop in the mulch, and then just stand up, pull their pants up, keep walking like nothing happened. And I was just like, there's bathrooms, just get everywhere, just walk into one. And it's we're not somewhere you have to pay to use the bathroom. I know that exists in other countries too, but like not in this part of China. You're right in front of a store. Just walk into the store. No, and people would also just whip it out and pee just on the sidewalk.
That's Europe as well. Like it's very, very common. We went to go watch. It wasn't uncommon to have a urinal that's outside.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. At least they had a place for you to go pee. But it was they just go do your business. That is there.
So crazy.
So it's different for sure. So
it is so crazy how different countries are and different regions are.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that we're different because we grew up in different areas and different communities, but it's just crazy. Like something like that is so crazy.
Yeah.
And they probably are like, why do Americans make such a big deal out of it?
No, honestly, yeah. I would assume it's just the longer history there, and like I don't know. Cause I guess because of like how America was founded, there might be a bigger emphasis on modesty in our like original cultural roots, than like European. Because I mean, when I went on my senior trip, I was semi uncomfortable. Like all the statues are naked. Yeah, very weird. But like that was just normal. You know what I mean? Like there's not that shame barrier.
Yeah,
per se.
The very first time, so we were in Stuttgart and we went downtown. We rode just the train downtown from near our hotel. And we walked up. We went out of the train station, walked up the mall, looked around, and there was an advertisement for a shower unit. But it was a topless female was in the advertisement just out, and that was not uncommon to have posters for topless female. They never showed the front nude, but you would often see advertisements that were open for everyone to see from the full backside and the full front from waist up. So uncommon. Like literally, that was our first time to go to town. I was like, oh wow, that was interesting. We're not in America.
We're not in America anymore.
That's so
yeah,
crazy.
it's just like a cultural difference where there's not that shame. I don't even know if shame's the right word, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like that's like like in America, like that, you'd feel shame if you were naked in public.
Right.
Yeah.
Like embarrassed, I guess might be the better word. But like, it's different.
Yep, for sure. It's not. I mean, but granted, there's a lot of good stuff too because this is totally pivoting. But the local bakeries in Germany, every small town has a local bakery, and all the bread is fresh every day.
That's
cool. The greatest thing on
like
earth.
Subway, we have
awesome.
those.
And I like Subway.
I love Subway
when the bread's good.
I love Subway.
Every small town in Germany has a nice little bakery, and that it was always good.
That
always,
is so
always
cool.
good. So that's the biggest thing that we missed was having that, among many other things in Germany. But every small town, and their chain was Sehne, Sehne, but it was fresh every day, and we loved it.
That's really, really cool. I'd love to go somewhere abroad. You know, my wife Gabby has been to London. Has been to like England, and Ireland. Has been to London. They're in Belfast, and to her it was like one of the best experiences of her life, obviously.
Yep.
And they followed. It was for a class, so they were there for I think a week or 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. And they followed like the life of C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
So they saw like the church that C.S. Lewis went to. They saw the pub that him and Tolkien would meet at.
That's cool.
They saw like the park with like the street lamp that like was the one that he like what gave the inspiration for the street lamp in Narnia. And like stuff like that. It was so that would be so cool. At the time I thought it was cool, but now like actually being like a C.S. Lewis fan, that would be so awesome to do that.
It was fun because when we were in Austria, talking about following stuff, when we were in Austria, we were in Salzburg, and we got to go see like where they shot a lot of Sound of Music, like the steps they were on, and the fountain they sang around, and so it was cool to go see that for sure. But you could go on tours that went throughout the country where they shot the movie at as well. And one of the tours was there, and they literally gathered around the fountain and were singing songs from the Sound of Music.
Oh, that's so cool.
Was fun, so.
How did you get into musicals? Like, what made you love them?
I think why I didn't like a ton when I was growing up, but I've always liked music, and I've always tried to be more eclectic in my music styles. So just to try to be cool when I was a kid, I was trying to be cool, right? Listen to something different. But Elizabeth and her family are all performers. Like
okay.
so it's gone much deeper into musicals since we've been married because all three of them grew up as a dancer. Her middle sister Danielle's in New York. She's done Broadway shows. Her other sister Bonnie is in Canada, so she performs every summer in a place called Stratford, which is worldwide famous for its summer productions. It's like a Shakespeare company, but they do a lot more stuff. And so. And her mom brought them all up in the theater, playing the theater. Like even when we were still dating, we were in the Nutcracker together. So if you guys have seen the Nutcracker, there's an opening parent scene where Dusseldorf, whatever the name of the guy who has the Nutcracker comes in, and there's parents and they dance around the stage. So there's video of me and Elizabeth dancing around stage at the Nutcracker when I was a senior in college. So that's how we got into musicals, because of Elizabeth, and then we love musicals still to this day. So
that's so awesome.
I always wondered that.
Jason, are you like kind of a good dancer?
Am I a good dancer? Define good, right? No, if we went out to the club tonight, if we hit it with the club, no, I would not be a good
news
dancer.
for you is I don't think Lynchburg has a club.
Yeah.
We just go, what was it, phase 2 or whatever they call it?
I have no idea.
But I
don't even know if that's a nightclub.
I can be, because I don't have two left feet. I'm not a natural dancer, but if I'm choreographed something, so like
you can fit into like musical dancing.
Yeah, for sure. So like I think I told Konner this, like at my daughter's wedding. We're trying to figure out what the father-daughter dance was going to be, and I may have talked about this in the banter. We're trying to figure out what it's going to be, and so we didn't want to do it. There's nothing wrong with the traditional sappy, sweet father-daughter dance.
Yeah.
That's just not me and Hannah. Like that's not. I mean, we love each other, but that is not our way. My daughter she's DMing a D&D campaign right now, right? I mean, we're a different kind of family, and so so we're trying to figure stuff out. I give her a long list of stuff, but there's a song called "You Can't Stop the Beat" from Hairspray, the movie. Love that song. It's one of my all-time favorite songs. And then we got inspired because Lin-Manuel Miranda, the Hamilton. First In the Heights, we were In the Heights fan way back when. So his wedding did something similar to what we did, in that the father of the bride came out and was going to do a toast, and they jumped into the song "To Life" from Fiddler on the Roof, and they brought people from the crowd to come dance and sing with them. So what we did instead was "You Can't Stop the Beat." But we basically walked out, and me and Hannah did a little choreography together, and then I went and got Elizabeth for verse 2, and she went and got Will, her husband, for verse 2, and then for verse 3 we got more people out of the crowd to come up there and do a choreographed dance to it. So it was fun. Brad, Kimberly, and the boys came out. So and then we even and at one part towards the end of the song we do a selfie. So I have a selfie in the middle of the song of us out there dancing as well. So
that's so awesome.
It was fun. Elizabeth got mad because I kept kind of doing my own flair to the dance. She goes, "You're doing it wrong." I'm like, "This is the way I'm going to do that. Because there's a part where you kind of go down and you kind of go up, and I always went up and down instead because I just it just felt more on point for that. So
that is so funny.
So I'm not a good dancer at the club, but if you show me some stuff, I will happily do it. And I don't have 2 left feet. So
there you go.
That's awesome.
I was in the Sound of Music when I was in middle school.
Oh, really?
No way.
Yeah. And my school had like high school choir. They put on a big play every year, and then in middle school, the like middle school choir was called treble. They had treble in the high school choir, and treble. I'm trying to think of why. It was just kind of the thing you did. Like everyone just kind of did it. You had to have an elective, and I think if you didn't do treble, gave you like an extra credit or extra something. I think it gave you extra credit in music class if you were in treble. There was something like that like everyone kind of used their excuse to be in it, but the real reason was like Christmas. You got out of school for Christmas play practice. You got to travel to go sing at like nursing homes and stuff, so you'd miss a few days of school doing that. And then when the spring musical rolled around, then basically what would happen is if you were in the musical, you would get half days for like basically once a week from like March on. You had a half day on Wednesdays, and then the week of the musical were all half days. And for some reason, the school made everyone else still stay at school. So like if you weren't in the musical, your classmates would get up and walk out, and you would have pointless classes the rest of the day.
No way.
But like our biology teacher was like, well, no, they're just gonna have to make up this work. And I was like, that's not how this works. Like I've been at the school for too long. I know that's not how it works. So 6th grade, I was like, I'm going to be in musicals the rest of my time at Timberlake because that means I get half days all the time.
Yeah, of course.
So 6th grade, I was in the Sound of Music was what we did. And I was just like a background person. But then what you didn't realize was you got those half days and stuff, but then you still had play practice Tuesday and Thursday night, and I was playing basketball. And so my schedule was I'd go to school went to school at 8:20 through because the whole reason they did Wednesdays was a Christian school, so we had Wednesday night church. So Wednesdays we didn't have homework on Wednesdays, and there was no basketball practice or games scheduled on Wednesdays, so that everyone could go to Awana or your youth group or Wednesday night church. So that's why play practice wasn't on Wednesday nights. I just assumed you only practice for the play from 12 to 3 on Wednesdays. 6th grade rolls around, and I learned that's not the case. Because the only other play in 5th grade, they did Music Man, and I auditioned to be one of the kid in Music Man. I don't know. I would have had lines.
Yeah.
And I made it to like the final cut, and they were like measuring me for my costume and stuff, and I was like, oh, I could have been a theater kid if my life went that direction. And then the last second they gave it to a different kid.
Dang.
And so
dude, what a punk.
It was tough. It was tough. I think it was out of spite. The music teacher didn't exactly like my long story. But it probably wasn't actually out of spite. That's just what I told myself to make myself feel better. The rest of high school, she was very nice to me. So I don't think she actually disliked me. But I just thought that back then.
That's
but 6th grade, I was just like a background dancer. So I would come out for like 3 or 4 things. But I had to be at play practice Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I would go to school 8:20 to 3. And then I'm in middle school. So middle school basketball practice was at 4. So you didn't go home. You just stayed.
Right.
So we get out of school at 3:05. You do your homework till 4. Do your homework till 4. The homework never got done. And then you'd go to basketball practice from like 4 to 5 or 5:30. And then play practice was at 6. And then play practice was 6 to 8. And then I'd come home. And if I had homework to do, typically I just played Modern Warfare 2 or whatever Call of Duty was out until like midnight. And then I'd go to sleep and then do it again the next day. So that was like we started play practice in January. So January through the play was in May. That was my week.
Right.
And so then come 7th grade, I was like, I don't want to do that again. So I decided I'm not going to be in the play. I'll just accept being in study hall. And so then 7th grade on, I was in study hall. And then by 10th grade, I was a little bit more defiant. And I was like, the play people would leave, and I would be sitting there, and then the teacher would start assigning stuff. And I'm like, I'm not doing whatever you're assigning me. And they'd be like, well, yes, you are. You're in my class. You're going to do it. And I was like, they get a half day. I get a half day. And she's like, that's not how it works. They're in the play. And I was like, you can hand me stuff. I'm going to turn it in when they turn it in. And then the rest of the class like rallied behind me. I didn't realize everyone else felt the same way. And so I was just ticked off one day, and I like said it. And then what ended up happening was the school changed their policy. And so then if you were in the play, you got a half day to go do play practice. But if you weren't in the play, you just got a half day.
Oh, damn.
So you got to go
Oh, my
home.
gosh.
So it just changed to be where you got all your 7 periods from 8 to 12, and then you were deuces. So then my buddies who were in the play,
I was about to say, they're probably ticked.
they were
at that,
ticked.
right?
And I was like, oh, y'all have fun in your play practice. I'm going to go home.
Whoa.
And so then the next year, the whole basketball team didn't do the play. I got to take this phone call super quick. Sorry.
No,
I think
okay.
my father-in-law's here.
Yeah.
I will. So have you seen Chicago the movie?
No, I have not.
Okay. Well, I'm going to brag on my sister-in-law a little bit anyway.
Go
For those
for
who
it.
have seen Chicago
Go
the
for
movie,
it.
it's basically about the story of some ladies in jail, and each of the minor characters has a little storyline where they talk about why they're in jail, and they all say they're not guilty. And there's one particular one who I think is Russian, who even I've never seen the Broadway show other than my sister-in-law's performance in it. But she's the only one who actually is not guilty. Spoiler for the story. But in Bonnie's show, she did Chicago and Stratford a couple years ago, and in her show, she actually went up in silk. So she climbs up in the ropes.
Cool.
And she's talking and singing, and then at the her final thing is she rolls down and drops at the bottom.
Wow.
And I was like, and we got to see her rehearse that, and like we were scared watching. I mean, she does this every day, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes twice a day. But watching her get up in the 2 silks, you see the people, because it's all. If you wrap the right way, you're going to be safe.
The silks are amazing.
It still was wild to
Yeah.
watch her.
Yeah.
It was cool.
That's amazing. That is so cool. Whenever I see videos of people doing the silks, I just like that takes so much strength.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's technique, it's strength, it's focus, because it's
Yeah.
not something you can ever just kind of doze off on. Like in that moment, you're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, if I forget
Talking about
to
the
wrap
silks?
one
So,
right way.
frick that.
to
I
roll.
saw, I think Barstool just posted the other day where someone was like doing something with silks and they didn't, I guess, wrap their leg or whatever, right? And
I
so
don't want to
they
watch
did
that video.
They did the drop and spin,
Yeah.
and they just kept spinning and just hit the ground.
Oh my gosh.
straight-
I don't watch that video.
Yeah, it did not look fun. Did not look fun. It was like what you always imagine's about to happen happened.
Yeah.
That's what I always picture. Like that person's not stopping. And
And they didn't.
They didn't that time.
That's hilarious.
We did. Did I get to see it or? Because I've seen Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
I feel like I only saw it in the U.S. My brother went to the one in China because the one in China is like a whole different ball game of like the circus in China, the Cirque du Soleil, which isn't really
Yeah.
a circus. It's just basically crazy acrobats.
Yeah.
But I feel like the one I saw was at like Myrtle Beach or something, but it was pretty cool. But the Chinese like street performers and like, have you ever seen Red Panda?
No.
So she does. She became famous for doing like college basketball halftime shows, and then she's done like NBA halftime shows. But
Okay.
she like rides on a 7-foot tall unicycle
Okay.
Okay.
and puts bowls on her head.
That's cool.
And then she'll start with just one bowl on her foot, and she'll be like rocking
Oh,
with the other
wow.
foot, and then
Yeah,
kick it up
okay.
and land on her head.
Yeah.
But then by the end of it, she's stacking like 7 bowls on her leg and kicks them and catches all 7 in the bowl on her head.
That's not possible.
You have to.
You have to watch
Can
it.
we do like a Joe Rogan type thing where we just all react to this?
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine.
That's
Okay.
fun. Well, that's why I'm also pulling up Bonnie doing the silks.
Is it, so this is,
videotaped,
I walked. Is this your sister-in-law?
It's my sister-in-law who's doing the silks right there. So, Connor, you can't see it. But
That's
like,
okay.
So she's already climbed up it. And she does it, but it's like pitch black on stage because the way the
Jeez.
lighting is. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I
man.
don't like gymnastics in general because I guess that kind of falls in gymnastics.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Yeah, like that. The strength level
Yeah.
of gymnasts.
That's what we're talking about. It's-
Ridiculous.
Well, because none of them look strong.
Right.
I mean, some of the guys will get like toned, but like you wouldn't walk down the street if they're just
Right.
wearing shirts.
They're
and
not
be like,
ripped, but that's because they can't be bulky.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Some of them are ripped, but they're not bulky.
They're not bulky
Like, you don't.
ripped, right.
Yeah.
They're very functionally strong.
Right. Not CrossFit ripped,
It's
but like
similar,
functionally ripped.
similar to like really talented wrestlers or like jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
guys, where like they might not look that strong, but then if you get like grip strength a gymnast could probably take that like grip strength test Brody had and break it.
Yeah.
Like similar to plumbers. Same
Yeah.
way. Well, plumbers aren't athletic, but like
Right.
grip strength wise,
Right.
not all. Some of you plumbers might be athletic. I'm sorry, shouldn't have taken that as something. But grip strength wise, like my brother-in-law was a plumber. I don't even know what it was. I'll Google. My brother-in-law was a plumber, and he ended up hurting his back or something to where he couldn't work anymore, and then so he switched to like a warehouse job. But he was a plumber for a while. He was a baseball player before, so already strong forearms, baseball. Then was a plumber. And so he, by nature, like you shake his hand, he feels like he's gonna break your hand.
Yep.
He just doesn't know how strong he is.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
he'll tighten something down, and then I'll have to go loosen it at some point in my life of like he's like do work and I have to go. This is a good example. He tightened just the water fixture at my dad's house of just like turning the hose off.
Yeah.
I didn't know that could get tighter than a human. And then my dad needed me to go turn the hose on because we were like doing something with the pool.
Yeah.
So he turned it off, walked over. My dad's like, "Okay, Hunter, I need to turn it back on." I walk over, I couldn't turn it on. I was like, Dad, it's stuck. And Ethan's like, "What do you mean it's stuck?" I was like, it won't turn. And he just walked over, just, I was like, what just happened? And so I want to see him on one of those grip strength because like a plumber forearm strength is just a whole different level.
Yeah.
But that's what I always think of gymnasts. Whenever I watch them like have that whole body control and like the stuff they do, I'm like, that's just like a different type of functional strength.
Yeah. I saw this guy I saw him on YouTube, but I'm sure he was on TikTok first, so you might have seen him. But he looks like if he was just wearing like normal clothes, he would just look like kind of a skinny guy. But like I think in a lot of his videos, he's wearing like a tank top or something. You can see that he's just complete, like it's all muscle, and he's all about like practical strength.
Yeah.
It's like what he talks about because he's like, you know, like lifting gets you a lot of different strength and it gets you muscles that look good and everything. But he's about like practical strength, as in being in a scenario where your strength gets you out of the scenario, being able to pull yourself up on stuff, being able to like he can like balance in all these crazy ways, which isn't really about. I mean, it is about balance, but it's about being strong enough in that one region to be able to hold yourself up and stuff like that. And so I thought that was really interesting. The idea of like being practically strong. Like,
is it calisthenics? Is what you train that way?
Yeah, I think that is it.
Because there's a dude who's on TikTok. I don't know if it's the same guy, but they'll do a lot of like the training you always see that's crazy is they have like full control over their like muscle up, and they do it like slowly. And then they can do it like really fast, but they'll like it looks like they're just like floating. Like it looks like they don't weigh anything when they do it. And it's just like a different. There's like different levels of strength. Because then if you put them to go do a deadlift against a bodybuilder, probably nothing.
Yeah.
But it's like, do you really ever need to pick up 650 pounds?
Right. Definitely not in a squat or anything like that.
Yeah. Rarely. Something I've learned in my practical life is rarely ever whenever you're picking something up, do you have the luxury of picking it up in the way that you would pick up weight in the gym?
Yeah, I do try to be aware of if I'm picking something up heavy, that I'm making sure I'm using my legs. Just because I've seen enough people hurt their back.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the weightlifting at an earlier age, like when I was in like JV basketball ranks, like 9th grade is probably when I started lifting weights. I don't lift anymore, but like having someone who taught me proper form for everything helped a lot with just like understanding your body in general as I got older. Yeah. Like how to prevent injury in day-to-day life even, or like if you go help a buddy move. Yeah. Like having been to the gym and have someone teach you, helpful, like it does at least help understanding how to drive force in the right ways to where you're not hurting your body. But for the most part, I mean, there's a lot. I gotta tiptoe here because I could say a phrase that I could say something that's just completely untrue, trying to say something that is true. But a lot of what people go to the gym and do at the gym is solely aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Curls for girls, right?
Yeah.
Guys do curls for girls, right? Like you just don't use your bicep in that.
There's some benefit. I mean, there's benefit to the general working out. Like going to the gym and lifting weight has general health benefits. But think about
the majority why most people want to go to the gym is because they want to look a certain way.
Yeah, but like if most of the exercises you end up doing there aren't going to translate to anything like real. You know what I'm saying? Like to where like if you're a runner and you go to the gym and you do functional strength training to improve your running, sure, like that has a direct practical aspect. Or if you're a football player and you go and do sled pushes and stuff like that. Yeah, you're about to be if you're a lineman, you're functionally using that every day. But if I go to the gym and I do sled pushes, like when am I ever in a situation where, oh, you need me to move all 4 desks at once? I can do that. Yeah, I can do that easy. You want me to move across from there to there? I can do that 10 times.
You only need to be strong if you don't have any friends.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way to put it.
That's why I choose to be a nice guy. And that's why I purposefully stay pudgy. Because then I just choose to be nice and gain friends instead of gain muscle.
Yeah.
You know?
Gain friends, not muscle.
Yeah, that's how I choose. It's not for everybody. I get it. It's difficult to live this way. I understand, but it's just how I choose to do it.
Yeah, well, because I think the
membership fees are through the roof.
Well, thankfully, it is a bigger push lately on functional strength.
Yeah.
Right. So a guy I follow who's not a fitness guy, but his name's Pat McNamara. Some of you guys may follow him. He does a lot of like military training and stuff, but he does like workout Wednesdays or something, and a lot of his stuff is all outside, and it's using weights, but in different ways with his mobility movements. Very much about mobility. The older you get, you need mobility. And then, I mean, Pilates and yoga is good to stretch for mobility, but you also need some functional strength with your mobility. So he'll do different things with his bands as opposed to just kind of doing a pull down or a pull up. He'll kind of rotate his shoulders around and do different things. And I was like, oh, that makes sense practically to do those things for the mobility and the movement as opposed to just a static move, a curl, a bench press. There's some aspects of those that are good, but more
I almost feel
variety.
like in my opinion, like the biggest benefit to lifting heavy or anything like that is mental. Of like it's similar to like, running helps your cardio, and that can in turn help your immunity. It can help you live longer. It can help, like, I saw this doctor explaining how if you're a really like intense runner and you build your VO2 max, like it opens up your capillaries, I believe is what it's called, but like your really small veins.
Yep, that's
where you have access to more of them, to where people who ran a lot and really intensely in their 20s and 30s can not even know they had a heart attack. Wow. Because like basically the blood flow will stop to a certain part, but because they have access to so many more veins than an average person, because of how much they trained, then there's been multiple studies where like they'll go to the doctor later and they like had not a severe heart attack, but a heart attack that could have put someone else like down for the count, and they didn't even know because like their body was able to just pick. So like there's a lot of health benefits to, but I think a lot of like, for me at least, the biggest benefits I've found running are putting myself in scenarios constantly where I have a mental battle that I have to like go and grind through something. Like your short training runs, even those, you're focused on a goal and you're building towards something. You consistently have a reason to get out there, but then when you get to like 14-mile run this weekend is going to be long for me. 2 weeks from now, I'll have a 16-mile run. I've never done that before. And you get to mile 10 of those and you have 4 more miles, my legs will hurt, I'll be tired, and like pushing through that has a lot of like mental benefits and just like life benefits, where I found it way easier when I'm met with something now to have mental fortitude to push through, is because I've built it. I'm training my brain just as much as I'm training my body. And I think that's one of the big benefits of lifting heavy, is it's a similar mental thing where you just feel down for the count. You can't go one more rep. You can't do it, but you have to push through it to get there. Like, I feel like there's a certain point of physical training that is equally mental, where you're working your brain and proving to yourself over and over that you can go a little bit farther. You can do a little bit more than you think. Yep. And so then that translates to other areas of your life where you hear that same doubt, but now I've already heard it on the trail. Yeah. And I push through and prove to myself like, oh, that's just my brain being dumb. And then you hear it in a different aspect of your life, and now I've trained that muscle in my brain to know how to just squash it and keep going. It's a weird thing.
You've trained yourself to push through being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Which is a really valuable trait to have, to be able to be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, because I feel like that's one of the big things that is true with like lifting, CrossFit, like anything that you're like physically exerting yourself. Yeah. There becomes a point where the physical turns fully mental. Yeah. And it's like your body can go more. Right. That's what I've discovered is like I can run faster. I can go farther than I thought I could. But when you get to a certain point, it's not your body limiting you anymore. It's just your mind, because you feel tired and you are tired, but your mind ends up, because your mind goes into how we're designed, fight or flight, where we're designed to store that energy. Because if we're in a survival case, we're at a point where we need to stop because we're trying to survive. But in our life right now, we're not in a point where I'm 14 miles into a run, I got to go 2 more. I don't need to stop to survive to have energy tomorrow, because I can sit on the couch and watch football the next day. A little bit different than our ancestors. But I think that's where that like thing comes from. But you can now train that muscle in your brain to kind of like fight it. And I feel like that's a huge part of like, lifting can be just aesthetic at a lot of times, but lifting hard and pushing yourself hard does have that mental benefit.
For sure. There's so many benefits to working your body. Like even like I've been like in a little bit of a rut like the past couple months, like just had a lot of stuff going on in my life, and just haven't been feeling great like mentally. And my wife and I were going consistently to our CrossFit class. Like months ago, we were going like very consistently, like twice a week. But then we didn't go for a really long time, like 3 months we didn't go, just because we got really busy. And then we still haven't been in the past few weeks, but we decided one day that we were going to go back. And so we went just for the 2 classes that week. And like I immediately felt like my mood get better. And it's just because whenever you're working out your body, all that blood flow, the extra oxygen that you get, like all that stuff, and with the different endorphins and what's the other scientific things?
Well, just your hormones change.
Yeah.
All your levels change.
Your body is meant to work. Meant to work hard, and so it's like really fulfilling to do that, and it improves like your mental and emotional health a lot too. And so that's what a lot of guys. I think people are really dumb whenever they're like, "Oh, mental health isn't real. Just go to the gym." That's stupid. And a lot of times people go to the gym because of mental health.
Like, well, that's what I think. As dumb as that phrase sounds, and the people who say it are dumb.
Yes.
They just don't realize what they're saying.
Right. No, they don't realize.
Because, like...
the gym is a great solution to mental health.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like, running is almost like therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
Where, like,
absolutely.
I didn't realize, because I was always a big morning routine person. I get up, I do my devotions, I drink my coffee, I have a quiet morning. Mm-hmm. And that was my, like, process a lot of stuff from the day before, get ready for... I didn't realize that was what was going on.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But that's why I loved mornings. Mm-hmm. Then I had a baby. Mm-hmm. And quiet mornings, no more. It's not going to work. And that's why, like, during August through, I don't know, probably, like... the worst part was I was running pre-Luca, and I had my morning routine and my run, and so my run didn't really mean anything mental. It was just physical, because I got my mental almost meditation early morning.
Yep.
And so running was just physical for me. Then I got hurt a few weeks before we had Luca. I got a high ankle sprain. I was down for the count for like 6 weeks, and then like 4 weeks into that we had Luca, and so like 10 weeks or 12 weeks I was out of running. And so during that time, like your body goes into survival mode when you have a baby. Mm-hmm. Like when you have a 1 month old, your body's in survival mode. There's no way around it. I don't know how I did what I did. Like, I don't know how I got through it, but you get through it because your body's designed to do it. I especially don't know how my wife did it. She had a C-section and then frickin' took care of our kid for unbelievable. Women are incredible. Yep. You don't realize it until, well, you might realize it, but you really don't realize it until they have a kid and you're like, how are you doing this right now? I didn't just push a baby out and I'm freaking struggling here. Anyways, then by the time Luca was like probably getting close to October, because I couldn't run the 10 miler because I was still hurt. So it had to be like October is when I could start running again. So Luca would have been 2 months old. By that time, I didn't have a morning routine because Luca's waking up. He had to be fed every 2 hours. So maybe it was like, might have been every 3 hours at that point. Like, there was no morning routine. It was just try to get out the door to get to work on time, work, come home, and then try to relieve Liz because she's been at home with the baby crying all day. And then hopefully somewhere in there, find time for a run. Luckily, at that point, I was just starting to train for my first half marathon, so the runs were very short. At that point, so it was like, I just need a 30-minute window, and I can get a run in. Nowadays, it's a lot different than that. But then that was when running during that first half marathon build, the physical and mental part of running started to click. And then really around April of this year is when it really started to click, because what changed it was I was always a headphone runner, always. And then my headphones died and I couldn't find the charger. On the same day I had a long run, which it was like 6 miles or 7 miles. Yeah. So that was a long run then, and which it is a long run. It just doesn't feel it sometimes, but an hour long, no headphones run. That sounded like torture. Yeah. At that point, I was like, "Are you kidding me? I got to go out this door at 5:30 in the morning, pitch black, and I don't even get to be entertained, and I can't even listen to music or a podcast." And that run is when stuff started to click, because then like 20 minutes in, you're just listening to your footstep and your breaths. Yep. and it literally you just start like it's a meditative state where like out of nowhere the run was over and I just thought through my entire week.
Yeah,
and like
you're able to
I
process
processed so much stuff.
Yeah.
And like I had ideas coming to me where like so much of like what Foundation has done with like subscription boxes or different ways we market stuff or different ideas I've had for YouTube channels or like why I remembered that we have Black Friday coming up and we actually pre-planned heavily this year was because running gives me time to think through it all to where stuff that if I'm really busy I just don't think about. I was running in August and I was like, Black Friday is going to be here soon. We need to get a meeting going like next week on this thing. And like running is the time that all of that I think through it all.
Yeah.
And so that's what, like that was really when it clicked. And then now I run with headphones 50-50. Now like long runs I definitely use headphones because you can put on music and just eventually my brain drowns it out now. But I like music at least lets me get to that brain drowning out part. But most of my runs during the week I don't wear headphones for because I just kind of send it. But it's gotten to be like almost meditative where like it is that is how I deal with my mental health, if you will.
No, that makes sense.
Like that's almost therapy. And so like I don't think people, because like most of the time it's gym bros that are just trying to be like just say it just to say it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of real truth to it of like,
well, there's no truth to saying mental health doesn't exist.
No, but like the go to the gym.
Yeah.
Because realistically they're saying mental health doesn't exist, just go to the gym, which they're just saying you have problems you need to work through, just go to the gym.
That's not what they're saying. I think the people that say that are just really.
But if mental health's not real, why would you have to go to the gym?
They're stubborn, but they don't realize.
I say they don't realize what they're saying.
Yeah. I agree. I'm saying I don't think that's their intention.
No, that's what I'm saying. They don't realize they're very dumb, but saying something very smart. And like because they're saying mental health's not real, go to the gym. And what they mean by that is not what they mean, but whoever said that phrase first, probably what that person meant was like you can work through all your problems if you just go out and do something physical.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that's not true for all your problems, but your average person with average problems, that is true. It's like you can just go for a long run, go hit a good gym session, and just let your brain think for a second.
Absolutely.
Don't be stimulated, just let yourself think.
Yep.
And then you can actually think through. And on top of it, like you said, like just being outside, sunlight, tons of mental benefits to it. Being in fresh air, tons of that's why COVID, when there was the 2 weeks of isolate yourself, that in and of itself didn't cause problems. But what caused problems was people isolated themselves to their rooms. Yeah. They're like, okay, I need to lock in to my bedroom, my house. I'm not going to see daylight. I'm not going to see anything. And then, of course, mental health problems skyrocketed because we just went from living active, normal lives to being outside on our commute to work or going to the park or whatever to working from home with our shades drawn so we can see our computer screens better. And out of nowhere, we might go 3 or 4 days without seeing the sun. Yeah,
it's like that, and also we're like meant to be communal creatures.
Yeah,
like we cannot live without community.
I am curious. I don't know where the studies would be on the difference of coming in an office, right? And like there's like for us, there's 4 of us here, okay, and we're all talking to each other, whatever. But let's say that the office dynamic here was different, and we were a very much like the head down and grind. And so the only time we talk to each other, because there are all offices like this where it's like you're just basically being beat to work. Yeah. But you come in, you're in your thing, and the only time you interact with people is in a meeting. I'd be curious the mental effects of that versus Microsoft Teams meetings, because like basically what I'm saying is like, can our bodies tell the difference of being the same room with someone and having this FaceTime? Because like we still get eye contact, we still get the like facial gestures, but now it's on a screen.
I think that you can tell a difference.
I'd be curious of like a study on of like what is the effect difference, because even like TV, right? Like you see facial. I mean, obviously it's one step farther because we are talking, so we are communicating, and there is that sense. Because like there were certain points in my life where on like summer vacation, what scratched my community, if you will, itch was video games. Yeah. Where like you get into a Call of Duty lobby and you're dropping with your search and destroy, squad, and there's 4 of us. and we're talking nonstop from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And like I got the same fulfillment as when my buddies would come over. Like I would end that with like a similar, I felt full. Well, for me, I was an introvert, so I felt exhausted, so I wanted to go be by myself. But it drained me the same as if people came over and I was being social with them.
The danger of those virtual connections is you're getting a level of connection, but then you're losing basic social skills of how to interact face to face, right? Because the way you talk when you're online versus the way you talk in a Teams meeting, because you're always mute. Oh, I got to unmute. Oh, is it my time? I forgot to unmute. You're losing those basic social skills of how to interact with somebody directly, how to do eye contact, how to do nonverbal communication, as well as how to do verbal communication, as well as that. What's funny is Elizabeth will tell you, like my last few years, I was like, I'm ready to retire. I would love a teleworking job where I saw no one. And I started working in the warehouse, and I'd see Brad half the day, and I realized, man, I really need human connection. So that's why I asked to start working at the store on Thursdays, just so I could have more human connection. Going back to your point,
I would be the same way.
So now, because I had those 20-something years in the Air Force, I did every dynamic where it was a cubicle farm, where I had my own office, where it was a mix and match of workers I really liked, workers we didn't like, and it was always quiet. So I've seen all of those things for sure. And to me, when COVID hit, and even before that, when we had virtual meetings, they're a necessary thing. But I vote in person all the time for sure. Because of those human connections, because of the social skills you just lose by always being virtual.
There's this study in one of my wife's favorite books. It's called Find Your People. It's by Jenny Allen, and the whole purpose of the book is basically it's helping you find healthy community wherever you are. So that's the purpose of the book. It's telling you the importance of community and how to find it, and stuff like that. And it's benefited our lives in huge ways. She read that book, and we changed how we lived, and we found community in a place that we didn't have community before that. And so it was awesome. But one of the studies in it was a tribe, and I think it was an African region. So some tribe in Africa. It might not have been Africa. Doesn't matter. It was some remote tribe where they don't have technology or anything. Well, it was like every single day, all of the women in the tribe, this is just how it worked in this tribe, while the men were out doing working and doing all this stuff, all the women would go together to the well and would wash their clothes together.
The gossip well, if you will.
Yeah. So they would all get together at the well, and they would wash their clothes together. And she went and visited one of these tribes or whatever, and just said it was like the most amazing thing. These women they would just be smiling and laughing. They would all just be laughing and cracking up together, and just washing their clothes. They would do it every day. But then there was like a fundraiser of some sort, or some kind of organization, charity came along and bought this whole tribe washing machines. So now they were able to wash their clothes in their home. And in that year they got wash machines, the mental health got terrible. For the first time in that community, women were struggling with depression and anxiety, and it was because they didn't have that everyday community with their friends anymore. They could stay in their homes and wash their clothes more efficiently, which is that's just crazy. Obviously that doesn't mean washing machines are bad.
It does.
Yep. That's why I don't have a washing machine anymore.
We use a washing board. Yep. I go down to the creek every day. That's how I start my day.
Yeah, that's how all of us at Foundation start our day. We all go to the creek together. But it's
I'll wash our Manscaped boxers.
But it's just crazy how there's that direct of a correlation between something
that makes sense. Yeah. Because that's what
which is literally what happened to the world during COVID. We were all washing our clothes together and then retreated back to our homes and weren't doing that anymore. And this has nothing to do with anything COVID. This is just the global phenomenon of quarantining.
Yeah.
Of being quarantined. And it just meant that the mental health of the world just became terrible.
Well, then in addition to that, you had people telling you if you go outside and meet and shake hands, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
That was the messages also being told at the same time. Frick COVID, dude. Anyways, I forget what I was about to say. I had a point, but it's Wheel of Names time. It's the end.
Let's hit him with it.
Let's hit him with it. Let's spin it. I already spun it. Here it comes.
Here it comes.
Spin.
Come on.
I hope he wants to get a picture of the wheel. The wheel loves me.
Wow.
I'm
Hunter
back.
on again.
Let's see if the wheel likes Trevor for once. Huh?
Yeah. Let's see.
I actually didn't put Trevor's name on the wheel. Well, that was what we were doing the whole time. No, people love Trevor too much. I can't do that to him. Brad.
Okay.
ABB.
All right.
All business Brad, me and Con.
Dang. Let's do it.
You know what? Should we spin the wheel and have a fourth person?
Sure. Might as well.
No.
Okay.
No. The fourth person's a guest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
not next week. We aren't going to have a guest. Is Robbie going to be in town next week?
Yes, Robbie's in town next
Robbie's
week.
in town next week. Never mind. So good thing I didn't spin the wheel. It had 5
Yeah.
people. That'd have been awkward. Yeah. So Robbie will be in town next week. So that means, does Robbie have we'll talk about the Vikings.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. Skull Vikes. We gotta see how he's feeling about Kirk Cousins'
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Achilles injury.
I mean, between the Braves and the Orioles, poor Trevor going out very early, and now the Vikings' chances are gone.
I think I might have accidentally overtalked myself to Robbie about how much of a Vikings fan I am. Because he basically just said, I like the Vikings. I said, cool, I will too then.
That's how I got here. I broke it to my my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Lizzie's family.
Yep.
That's what I was trying to say.
Hit him with it.
That I was a Vikings fan now because they've always been a Cowboys fan, and I was just like, yeah, I'll be a Cowboys fan. And they all turned on me. They all just started chewing me out, and I was like, whoa, I don't really care about football. Skull Vikes, baby. All right, what noise we want to make?
Let's get our selfie real quick, though. Connor, are you there? This is for Patreon. 1, 2, 3.
You can find that over at patreon.com/foundationdiscgolf. Connor, what noise are we making?
We were making the noise of Hunter trying not to poop his pants.
Oh. You want me just to play the vlog moment?
Yeah. Here, I'll do it. Liz, it's bad. I'm going to poop my pants. I need you to come get me.
The phone call went basically exactly like this. Actually, I'll let Jason interpret it first before I say what it was.
I'm interpreting Hunter trying not to
poop
Interpretive
his
dance.
So
Diarrhea
his pants.
flows like a river.
Okay, this is not gonna be very good, but please don't, please don't, please don't, please.
That's fair.
That's great.
It was basically, I stopped, right? So now I'm calling Liz. So I'm walking. And it was just like, hey, can you come pick me up? No, I'm not. No, I'm not hurt. No, I basically right now I'm trying to decide what house I'm about to poop in the front yard of because I can't hold it anymore. Yeah, no, I'm being dead serious. Can you? Yeah, I know.
Stop laughing.
Can you please come get me? I don't know what else to do. I'm 2 miles from home. If I walk, I'm not gonna make it in time. Please come get me. Okay, I'll see you in a second. That was a phone call.
That's hilarious.
Well, that's the banter.
All right, see you.